Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. I'm doing great. Today we are in the heart of the Midwest. We are in Indiana, just outside of Fairmount, the hometown of James Dean. Now, one of my all-time favorite museums to anyone is the James Dean Museum here in Fairmount, and they have moved into a bigger location. They've added some new stuff. I don't know exactly everything that they've added, but I do know Scott Michaels told me they recreated Jimmy's bedroom from the Winslow farm, and I've never seen that before, so it will be worth it just to see that. Days with Jordan the Lion and you all, and the great James Dean begins now. For such a small town, it's made pretty big impact just when you think of James Dean and Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, alone. Definitely a town worth seeing. If you missed that sign coming into town, you probably can't miss this one. This big, giant pop-up mural. The same guy who did the ones out in Marfa, Texas for Giant that I've shown before did this one. Take a ride out to the cemetery first and visit Jimmy. James Dean's buried here at Park Cemetery. They make it about as easy as possible to find him. It's on James Dean Drive. That leads you right into the cemetery, and then they give you directions. I did not always understand or appreciate the legend of James Dean. I think it was when I saw Giant, I was like, okay, he's a great actor, but I don't get it. And then I came to this town, submerged myself in his story, met his cousin Marcus, who's maybe the nicest guy ever. The collection we're gonna see today is Marcus's collection. Jimmy lived with Marcus and his parents when he grew up, and Marcus has kind of made it his mission to give back to the fans as much as possible, and anything that the fans, or that he can do for the fans to keep Jimmy's memory alive, or to thank them for keeping his memory alive, he does. So we're here right after they've had the memorial celebration for the anniversary of Jimmy's passing. Here is the heavily decorated grave of James Dean. You can see somebody's put this wonderful framed picture of him. It's not been a peaceful rest, that's for sure. People have stolen his headstone many times. They used to have a bust of him out here that they had to move to town because it had been stolen. For some reason, people just, they all want a piece of the legend of James Dean. They're constantly out here taking the lipstick prints off because they ruin the face of the headstone, but here we are, almost 70 years later. Almost to the day. At the time of filming this, he had just passed 69 years ago, 2 days ago. That's when I'm out here. I love to come out here if I can. I don't want to be here for the celebration. It's just too many people, but I do like to come out right after and see how much people have paid tribute to him. Just irritates the living daylights out of me when people comment on the videos, well, he shouldn't have been driving so fast. He shouldn't have been doing this. It wasn't his fault. He was not at fault in this. One of the things that always sticks out at me is when I got to interview his cousin Marcus. If you want to see more James Dean videos, I have a ton of them out here. There's all kinds of stories that I've shown, different places that Jimmy took photos and experiences. But when I got to interview Marcus, he told me one thing. He said, people ask me, did Jimmy have a death wish? Because he liked to ride his motorcycle through town and have fun. He said, no, Jimmy didn't have a death wish. He had a life wish. He wanted to live life and experience every moment of it. So here people have left a car up there, cigarette. And he rests eternally here with his father, Winton Dean, and the aunt and uncle that raised him, Marcus's parents, Marcus Winslow Sr. and Ortiz. or a tents. Now let's go see this amazing collection that Marcus has so generously made available to the fans. The Little Prince. But before I go, I want to show you this. Someone in town here is such a big James Dean fan, and their headstone's actually looking right at Jimmy's behind us. Look at this one. Almost feel like this should be Jimmy's headstone. So here it is, the new location of the James Dean Museum. That is the same bank that you can see in the background of that famous photo of James Dean that actually would have been taken right over here on the side of this sidewalk. I love what they did to the side of the building. Isn't that amazing? That is not only one of my all-time favorite photos ever, but I have it hanging up in my house. But that photo I was telling you that is really famous of James Dean, they actually have it documented right here for fans that are coming to town. So I'll just show you from that photo. He would have been right here with that in the background, that bank. I've been right here. I just feel like they should have put James Dean Museum like really large, going all the way across to let people know that are driving through town if they didn't know. So as soon as you walk in, they have all these wonderful pictures of Jimmy, Elizabeth Taylor, and that was the car that he passed in. Wow! I just got a brief tour from the amazing docent Dorothy, who is always informative and always here when we come. Scott and I have been here many times. Let me show you what they have. Marcus is constantly bringing in things like daily, and just a handful of days, like 5 days ago, he brought this in Jimmy's crib. Wow. Didn't even know this still existed. Here are some family photos. Jimmy with Grandma Dean. Here in the center was Marcus and our teens, who we saw their gravesite. But what they have that's very fascinating is this was the register from when Jimmy's mother's funeral happened, and it happened in the Winslow home, and Jimmy has signed it himself inside. Right there in the middle it says Jimmy Dean. Like I said, this is maybe one of the most complete museums you can ever find, and it's gotten even more complete. They have a ton of his baby clothes, baby announcements. Little Jimmy would have wore those. Little legend. There's a baby photo. Back here, this black piece is Mildred Dean's driver's license, Jimmy's mom. And then more of his baby clothes. I mean, this to me is just absolutely epic. And then below that, they have a ton of his childhood drawings, which a lot of people don't know. He was a big artist. His whole life, he loved to draw. And I'm going to show you some really crazy things they have here that we never knew about. These are all his original art. Now here we have some of the toys that he has as a child. His little miniature cat pistol. He used to drink soda pop out of that silver cup. This little rock was what he picked up when he lived in Santa Monica playing on the beach. And these hung in his bedroom as a child. Now in this case they show a lot of his high school and childhood, and this is his little basketball uniform when he was a young man. And then they have pieces in these jars of all the schools and soil samples and stuff from the schools he went to. Here they have a couple of his trophies that he won when he was a young man. high school, his Bible, a report he wrote called the case study, then a lot of his track and field ribbons, pole vault, low hurdle, shot put, broad jump, his letterman's letter, and his yearbooks. This is always one of my favorite things to see, although the sign up top is new. This is the Czech motorcycle that Jimmy's his aunt and uncle got him so he could ride it around town. This was his first motorcycle, and they called him One Speed Dean. I don't remember what the original color was, but he painted it yellow, which I think is awesome. And they have a photo of him in high school sitting on the motorcycle. But he used to go hang out at a place called Carter's Motors that sold motorcycles, and he used to love to look at this one, so that's why his aunt and uncle got it for him. And that's the original Carter Motors sign. How neat is that? Now this is really new. This they found in the barn, and it's one of the last drawings that Jimmy would have ever done. The reason they believe that is because if you look at some of the things, you'll notice that he drew the giant mask down here at the bottom, right there. So very likely something he did the last couple of months of his life. You can see the candle. Sorry, it's just kind of a weird reflection. They have plexiglass to protect it, so hopefully you can get a better idea from that. Now this is really unique. This is the blackboard, or one of the blackboards from his school, his high school. And then this is one of the things that I was most excited about, is they have recreated his bedroom right here inside with the doors and everything. This has the rocking chair and the phone that he would have made his phone calls in his last trip back here. And this was in the Winslow family since the 1880s. There's a photo of him sitting in the rocking chair on the phone with that. Let's take a look. What an experience. Now they put a plaque outside that says Jimmy's bedroom. This is an exact replica of Jimmy's bedroom on the Winslow farm. It includes Jimmy's original bedroom furniture and the original glass from his bedroom windows that have been stored in the hayloft. Yeah, they actually saved his bedroom window right there. Very simple room, but everything is exactly the way it would have been for him, with his Letterman sweater on the bed. Wow. From what I understand, when Jimmy moved off to California, they kind of turned his bedroom a little bit into a storage room, but after he passed away, they took everything back out and just set it back up like his bedroom, and it had been that way for years. Now this also blew my mind. Jimmy's tractor, the tractor that he is seen in several photos that he used to use on the farm. In fact, right here in this famous photo, it's the same tractor the family has kept all these years. It's got like that weather thing, that wind visor kind of thing up there, whatever that's called, but that is the same exact tractor. And Dorothy was telling me she noticed, which I had never noticed, in that famous photo on the wall, if you look in the background of the photo, that tractor's there. So that's the Winslow family farm on his last trip here. And then look behind his head. right back there. See the wheel and everything? Now, I didn't know this existed either. This was Jimmy's first car. What a beauty. He used to drive this to school, to high school. His first ride. Uncle and Aunt Marcus and Ortiz bought this 1949 from Kessler Ford Sales in Fairmount. James Dean drove this car to Fairmount High School during his senior year, as well as to his senior prom. Marcus and Ortiz drove this car to California to visit James Dean and his father. James Dean drove this car on his visits in Fairmount from California and New York. I bet this is the same car. When Jimmy moved to California, he didn't have a car, so he wrote to his aunt and uncle and asked them to bring his motorcycle. So his uncle just took the motorcycle apart, put it in the trunk of the car, and just drove it out there, and they reassembled it when it got there. So it was probably this car from that story. His motorcycle would have been in that trunk. Now, Jimmy had a favorite teacher, Adeline Knowles, who was the drama teacher, and this was her closet. He once painted her a picture of an orchid. Somebody gave her a gift of an orchid, and he painted it so that she could keep it forever. Now, this is dedicated to his basketball years in high school, and that was the equipment. Somebody just brought that in recently. That was the equipment box from when he would have been there, from the 1949 season. They have the bust of, that's what Jimmy commissioned at the end of his life. Used to be out at the gravesite. This is one of the original lights from the stage at the high school. And then Jimmy's Letterman sweaters with pictures of him wearing them. So this one he's wearing right there. And then that was his baseball sweater, because you can see the baseball bats. And then this was another one of his basketball sweaters. And then that leads you right over here to his New York apartment and the sink from his New York apartment. So they basically gave you an idea of how the place would have been laid out. And we're gonna see those bull horns and cape and those little figures. We'll see those here coming up. That was his wash basin from 19 West 68th Street. Now this represents some of his college time when he moved out to Santa Monica to go to school. That Santa Monica City College Letterman sweater, and a signed photo that he would have given someone. A signed menu from the Villa Capri in Hollywood. One of his Delmar Cleaners dryer bags. And they have a note here that says, Jimmy was one of our customers and he used to drive up to the front of our shop on his motorcycle and drop off his dry cleaning. He was a very shy but nice and pleasant person. The sweater here was brought in a couple of weeks before he died. It's hard to remember exactly when he brought it in, but nobody picked up the sweater. After a year, we gave it to our daughter Diana. She cherished it very much and kept it in a sweater bag. So it would have been there in that bag. Here's his lease agreement for his house on Sutton Street in Sherman Oaks. And he's signed the lease up here. They have some of his checks and documentation, things like that. His Pancho Villa book that he signed and drew a little bull in. And then those are all of his, that's basically like his address book. And then his little tape recorder. Jimmy brought this to the Winslow farm on his last trip and was interviewing his family members and documenting that trip. Here's a letter Jimmy wrote to his theatrical agent, Dean DC, and in there he says that he had to go to a throat specialist because of a pigmented tongue. Too much smoking, he said. But he said, "I'm getting fatter and feel better." And when he mentions the tongue, he drew a little like caricature face with a tongue sticking out. This is his 1965 Triumph motorcycle. He made modifications to swap the handlebar, passenger seat, just as Marlon Brando did on his 1950 Triumph in the Wild One. Jack Warner banned him from riding this motorcycle around the lot because he was speeding around and ruining takes for different productions that were working on the lot. Just having fun like Jimmy did, you know. There he is leaning up on it. Now when we get to this case, this is a fun one because this is his New York apartment in his New York days. So we saw that hanging on the mural right here. Right there on the left. Same horns, same cape. Has bongo and congo drums right here. There's a picture of him out amongst a bunch of farm animals playing the drum. Having the time of his life. He seems like he would have been such a fun guy to hang out with. And here were some of his books, his acting guide right here, and records from that apartment. Here was his little recorder, his personal scrapbooks right here, and then some of the playbills for different things that he did while he was there. But what I love is, remember I told you we would see those little animals that were on his windowsill? There they are. Those were from that apartment in New York. Right there. Now this case was also one of the most exciting as she showed me around because it was a discovery they didn't know about themselves until they moved in here. So here they have his little tape player that he would use to learn his lines from Giant. He'd record them on there and then learn them off of there. And there's a photo of him with the little tape unit. But when they were moving this Congo drum, all of a sudden Dorothy noticed, which nobody ever had, that our beloved artist, Jimmy, had pencil drawn something on the side. And it looks like a matador. It's definitely the style that we would see him do, but very light. He's drawn something around the side of it. Looks like a dancing woman or a matador or something. How cool. All these years later to finally have discovered that. And then here was, a lot of people said, love of his life, Pierre Angeli. I was told the first time I came here by a local, he said, you know that scene in The Graduate where tries to break up the wedding and everything? That was based off of Jimmy showing up on his motorcycle. And this was a letter that Pierre wrote to Jimmy. There they are together. And they have a little handkerchief. It's monogrammed on there of hers. And this is a letter from his agent telling him not to get married, not to marry her. And these were his, he loved music. These were his composer statues that he had. And then beneath is his shaving kit. And his little travel alarm clock. And then a very famous photo of him wearing this shirt right down here. And those were his records right there, and he even signed his name on the records. And then that was his coffee pot and coffee cups. Fairmount High School banner, and that was the bell that used to ring him into school every day to start classes. Check out this curtain hanging from the ceiling. That was on the stage of his high school when he used to do performances. And when they demolished the high school, they actually removed the stage and put it in a local park so that it can be used. This case is all his amazing artwork. He was an incredible artist, really. The watercolor, the bullfighter. Then here's a little clay mold that he made of himself. And then he used these little matadors for a homemade movie he made. Check this out, a little hand drawing, James Dean transport. And then remember I told you that he painted that picture of the orchid for his teacher when we saw her closet. There's the painting right there. And there she is holding it. And then down here they have some more of his artwork. I guess maybe he was coming up with his own monograms. That's more of his original artwork. And him working on a sculpted head of himself. And then all of his tools to sculpt with. Now this section has some really great memorabilia in here. That is his shirt from East of Eden, when he was in Steinbeck's East of Eden, which would have been his first movie. And then they have the actual knives from the knife fight in Rebel Without a Cause. You can see they painted Rebel Without a Cause and they gave them to his father. It says 1955 on one of them in Rebel Without a Cause. And here was one of the monkeys from the set. And there he is looking at it. Little monkeys in front of him there. And then this was a signed Rebel Without a Cause script by the whole cast. That is amazing. That's a Western Union telegram from Warner Brothers stating that James Dean refused to attend the East of Eden premiere. And then here are some of his boots, his motorcycle boots. Here's a photo of him on one of his motorcycles. And there's the jacket. Now we're moving over to Giant. They definitely have more stuff than Warner Brothers could even dream of as far as Jimmy stuff. Look at this. These are the wooden posts that he's leaning up against in this famous photo, this Frank Worth photo. I have that photo on my wall thanks to Todd Fisher. He gave me an original Frank Worth print of that. So those two posts are what we're seeing leaned up right there. And this miniature windmill was made of pieces of the actual windmill, which is still out there. These are his boots that he wore on the set, around the set and everything. And one of his famous shirts from that time. They have a photo of him wearing it, and you can actually buy, they have one of them for sale in the gift shop recreated, which is awesome. Then they have his oil derrick cufflinks that he bought himself. This is his rock lasso. They show him using in Giant, and he actually learned how to do that. And then that also was used by Jimmy in the movie. And that rifle was his that he used to hunt jackrabbits in Marfa while filming Giant. Then there's a note from Edna Ferber, who wrote Giant, to him. Very cool case. And right next to it, some of his original clothing from the movie. So there you have his chaps. and his wardrobe. And I'll show you a picture of him wearing these clothes. There he is. Take a look at the photo they found to match up this belt. Look at this. This is an original piece of the railing of the home in Marfa that they created for the movie. Wow. That's his original script from Giant with notations. Some of the pages that he had made notations on for his character Jet Rink. And this was correspondence from Warner Brothers about the making of the movie, different things going on, his contract for the movie, all kinds of stuff. These were letters that were found on his desk at his home after he passed away. And then that's his pocket watch chain. This corner is dedicated to his racing career. So there's Jimmy's briefcase that he would have used during racing, and there he is actually holding the briefcase. Then they have a toy car that he and Marcus are playing with, little cousin Marcus, in that photo. And it's thanks to him that we have this museum. Now, he was a legitimate racer, and these are his trophies from winning races. Stock Car Club trophies. You kind of just wonder what his life would have been like had he survived. Would he become a full-time racer? Would he have directed movies? Would he have moved to Europe and acted in movies? Like, what would he have done? So much of the industry changed after. These are his car club badges. And then take a look at this. This is brand new. This blue one, this Mechanics, that was his, and they found it in the barn. How cool is that? With the reflection of the glass, it's a little tricky, but I'm trying to give you some angles. He would have wore that when he worked on his car, and then that was his racing uniform, the black one that he wore for races. And many photos of him wearing them. Pretty cool. Then over here, these are all awards that he received for his acting career. Just highlighting a lot of those. A lot of this stuff I just want you to come see in person for yourself. And then that was basically what's up at Griffith Park, where he filmed Rebel Without a Cause. That was the bust he had commissioned. And then this case was all loaned by a fan who collected all this stuff. Western Union telegrams, all correspondence about Jimmy, Warner Brothers stuff. Thank you, Neil Sheehan. And that's a very unique thing that the museum was telling me they're going to try and do, is make enough room to where they can feature fan collections or fan items that people might want to see. So these are correspondence to his agents and all kinds of stuff. That's actually a letter from Donald Turnipseed to someone, and he actually mentions the James Dean wreck in the letter. Let me see if I can zoom in enough. He mentions in here, he says, if you see right down there at the bottom, it says, "The affair with Dean." He said, so I bought another car and a home, so I am just now getting time to get my breath. That is one of the original seats from the auditorium at the high school where he would have performed. And then Dorothy, who Every time I'm here, she's here. She puts her heart and soul into this place. She's a major fan, an amazing docent for this place. And this is her personal collection of Jimmy stuff. So it's really cool that she's able to share her collection with the fans as well. Playbills from when he was in See the Jaguar. Original photos. All kinds of great stuff. Receipts. Wow. They hit it completely out of the park, and they were hitting it out of the park in the last location, so unbelievable. You got to get out here. This is probably the best movie museum to one person I've ever seen, and it's only $10. Now let me show you what's in the gift shop. So unlike any other museum, you can actually buy even like his Letterman sweater. You can get great t-shirts. There's the recreation of the one that we saw him wearing in the photos. You have all kinds of cool stuff here. They have the same kind of sunglasses he wore. Copy of the guest book from when Morrissey signed it. Recreations of the Fairmount newspapers announcing that he had been killed. Prints of his watercolors. Even a James Dean necklace. His name. There you can buy one of the hats that he used to wear around here, the hometown cap. I think I might get this shirt. I love it. James Dean with a ladies invited. It's promoting the festival. Then of course the last car. Carter's Motors. The motorcycle shop. All kinds of great stuff. And, of course, like I said, also the home of Garfield, Jim Davis. So you can buy Garfield stuff. Oh, wow, what an experience. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I asked them, like, how long this building had been there, and they said that it was actually here when Jimmy was alive, and that it was basically like a department store that he would have come in. So he does have a history in that building. Thank you all for watching. They said they will be continually adding things, and I can't tell you what those are. So even if you come here, you'll want to come back because they're always going to be adding more stuff. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great night and goodbye.